Hey, fourth graders, I just wanted to hop on and say keep up all the good work you're doing on your online classes. I am so proud of you. And most of all, I miss you more than anything, and I hope you guys still know that. I love seeing your faces on our Zoom meetings, but it's nothing like seeing you in person. Chapter 4, Pippi Goes to School. Of course, Tommy and Annika went to school. Each morning at 8 o'clock, they trotted off hand in hand, swinging their school bags. At that time, Pippi is usually grooming her horse or dressing Mr. Nilsson in his little suit. Or else, she has been taking her morning exercises, which meant turning 43 somersaults in a row. Then she would sit down on the kitchen table and, utterly happy, drink a large cup of coffee and eat a piece of bread and cheese. Tommy and Annika always looked longingly towards Villa Canula as they started off to school. They would much rather have gone to play with Pippi if only Pippi had gone to school too. That would have been something else again. Just think what fun we could have on the way to school, said Tommy. Yes, on the way to school too, said Annika. The more they thought about it, the worse they felt to think that Pippi did not go to school, and at least they would determine to try to persuade her to begin. You cannot imagine what a nice teacher we have, said Tommy artfully to Pippi one afternoon when he and Annika had come for a visit to Villa Canula after they had finished their homework. If you only knew how much fun school is, Annika added. I'd die if I couldn't go to school. Pippi sat on the hassock, bathing her feet in the tub. She said nothing, but just wiggled her toes for a while so that the water splashed around everywhere. You don't have to stay very long, continued Tommy, just until 2 o'clock. And yes, besides, we get Christmas vacation, Easter vacation, and summer vacation, said Annika. Pippi put her big toe thoughtfully, but still said nothing. Suddenly, as if she had made some decision, she poured all the water on the kitchen floor so that Mr. Nilsson, who sat there playing with her mirror, got his pants absolutely soaked. It's not fair, said Pippi sternly, without paying any attention to Mr. Nilsson's puzzled air about wet pants. It is absolutely unfair. I don't intend to stand it. What's the matter now, said Tommy. In 4 months it'll be Christmas, and then you'll have Christmas vacation. But what do I get? Pippi's voice sounded sad. No Christmas vacation, not even the tiniest bit of Christmas vacation. She complained. Something will have to be done about that. Tomorrow morning I'll begin school. Tommy and Annika clapped her hands, delight. Hooray! We'll wait outside for the gate at 8 o'clock. Oh no, said Pippi, I can't begin as early as that. And besides, I'm going to ride to school, and ride she did, exactly at 10 o'clock. The next day she lifted her horse off the porch, and a little later all the people in town ran to the windows to see what horse it was they thought was running away. That is to say, they thought that running away, but it was only Pippi in a bit of a hurry to get to school. She galloped wildly into the schoolyard, jumped off her horse and tied him to a tree, and burst into the classroom with such a noise and a clatter that Tommy and Annika and all the classmates jumped from their seats. Hi there, cried Pippi, waving her big hat. Did I get here in time for the pleddification? Tommy and Annika had told their teacher that a new girl named Pippi Longstocking was coming, and the teacher has already heard about Pippi in this little town. As she was a very pleasant teacher, she had decided to do all she could to make Pippi happy in school. Pippi threw herself down on a vacant bench without having been invited to do so, but the teacher paid no attention to her heedless ways. She simply said in a friendly voice, Welcome to our school, little Pippi. I hope you will enjoy yourself and learn a great deal. Yes, I hope I'll get some Christmas vacation, said Pippi. This is the reason I've come, and it's only fair, you know. If you would first tell me your whole name, said the teacher, and then I'll register you in the school. My name is Pippolita Delicatessa Window Shadow Mackerel Mint Ephraim's daughter Longstocking, daughter of Captain Ephraim's Longstocking, formerly the terror of the sea, now Cannibal King. Pippi is really only a nickname because Papa thought that Pippolita was way too long to say. Indeed, said the teacher. Well then, we shall call you Pippi too. But now, she continued, suppose we test you a little and see what you know. You're a big girl, and no doubt you already know a great deal already. Let us begin with arithmetic. Pippi can tell you what 7 and 5 are? Pippi is astonished and dismayed, looked at her and said, well, if you don't know that yourself, you'd be needing to think I'm going to tell you. All the children stared in horror at Pippi, and the teacher explained that one couldn't answer that way in school. I beg your pardon, said Pippi. I didn't know that. I won't do it again. No, let us hope not, said the teacher. And now I will tell you that 7 and 5 are 12. See that, said Pippi, you knew it yourself. Why are you asking me then? The teacher decided to act as if nothing unusual were happening and went on with her explanation. Well now, Pippi, how much do you think 8 and 4 are? Oh, about 67, said Pippi. Of course not, said the teacher. 8 and 4 are 12. Well now, really, my dear little woman, said Pippi, that is carrying things too far. You just said that 7 and 5 are 12. There should be some rhyme or reason for things even in school. Furthermore, if you are so childish, interesting in this foolishness, why don't you sit down in the corner by yourself and do arithmetic and leave us alone so we can play tag? The teacher decided there was no point in trying to teach Pippi any more arithmetic. She began to ask the other children questions about arithmetic. Tommy, can you answer this one? She said. Lisa has 7 apples and Axel has 9 apples. How many apples do you have altogether? Yes, you tell Tommy, Pippi interrupted, and tell me too, if Lisa gets a stomach ache and Axel gets more stomach aches, whose fault is it and where do you go to get a hold of apples in the first place? The teacher tried to pretend that she hasn't heard or turned to Annika now. Annika, here's an example for you. Gustav was with his schoolmate on a picnic. He had a quarter when he started out and 7 cents when he got home. How much did he spend? Yes, indeed, said Pippi. I also want to know why he was so extravagant, and if it was a pop he bought, and if he washed his ears properly before he left home. The teacher decided to give up arithmetic altogether. She thought maybe Pippi would prefer to learn to read. So she took out a pretty little card with a picture of an ibex on it. In front of its nose was the letter I. Now, Pippi, she said briskly, you'll see something jolly. You see here an ibex. The letter in front of the ibex is called I. That I'll never believe, said Pippi. I think it looks exactly like a straight line with a little fly speck over it. But what I'd really like to know is what an ibex to do with a fly speck. The teacher took out another card with a picture of a snake on it and told Pippi that the letter on that was an S. Speaking of snakes, said Pippi, I'll never forget the time I had to fight a huge snake in India. You can't imagine what a dreadful snake it was, 14 yards long and mad as a hornet. And every day he ate up 5 Indians and then 2 little children for dessert. At one time he came and wanted me for dessert, and he wounded himself after. Uh-huh. But I've been around a bit, I said, and hit him in the head and with a bang. And then he hissed. And then I hit him again, and bingo, he was dead. And indeed, so that letter S, most remarkable. Pippi had to stop to get her breath, and then the teacher, who had now begun to think Pippi was unruly and a troublesome child, decided that the class should be drawing for a while. Surely Pippi could sit and be quiet and draw, thought the teacher. She took out the paper and a pencil and passed them out to the children. Now you may draw whatever you wish. She sat down in the corner of her desk, and she began to correct homework. In a little while, she looked up to see how drawing was going. All the children sat looking at Pippi, who lay on the floor drawing her to her heart's content. "But Pippi," said the teacher impatiently, "why in the world aren't you drawing on your paper?" "I filled that long ago. There isn't room enough for a wholesome horse on that little snip of paper," said Pippi. "Just now I'm working in the front of his legs, and when I get to his tail, I guess I'll have to go into the hallway." The teacher thought hard for a while. "Suppose instead we all sing a little song," she suggested. Miss Eddington's getting tongue-tied. She suggested. All the children stood up by their seats, except Pippi. She stayed where she was on the floor. "You go ahead and sing. I'll rest myself for a while. Too much learning breaks even the healthiest." But now the teacher's patience had come to an end. And this is her drawing. She told all the children to go out into the yard so she could talk to Pippi alone. When the teacher and Pippi were alone, Pippi got up and walked to the desk. "Do you know what?" she said. "It is awfully joyful to come to school and find out what it was like. But I don't think I care about going to school anymore, Christmas vacation or no Christmas vacation. There's altogether too many apples and imbexes and snakes and things like that. It makes me dizzy in the head. I hope that you, teacher, won't be sorry." But the teacher said she certainly was sorry, mostly of all because Pippi wouldn't behave decently, and that any girl who acted so badly as Pippi did, wouldn't be allowed to go to school even if she wanted to. "Have I behaved badly?" asked Pippi, as she said, astonished. "Goodness, I didn't know that," she had added, and looked very sad, and nobody could look as sad as Pippi when she was sad. She stood in silence for a while, and then she said in a trembling voice, "You understand, teacher, don't you, that when you have a mother who is an angel and a father who is a cannibal king, and when you have sailed the ocean all across life, then you don't know how to behave in school, with all the apples and imbexes." Then the teacher said she understood and didn't feel annoyed with Pippi any longer, and maybe Pippi can come back to school when she was a little older. Pippi positively beamed with delight. "I think you are awfully nice, teacher, and here is something for you." Out of her pocket she took out a little gold watch and laid it on the desk. The teacher said she couldn't possibly accept such a valuable gift from Pippi, but Pippi replied, "You've got to take it, otherwise I'll come back again tomorrow, and that would be pretty how do you do." Then Pippi rushed out of the schoolyard and jumped onto her horse. All the children gathered around to pat the horse and see her off. "You ought to know that school's in Argentina," said Pippi, looking down at the children. "That's where you should go. Easter vacation begins 3 days after Christmas vacation ends, and then Easter vacation is over 3 days before summer vacation starts. Summer vacation ends the 1st of November, and then you have a tough time until Christmas vacation begins November 11th, but you can stand that because there is at least no lessons. It is strictly against the law to have lessons in Argentina. Once in a while, it happens that some Argentinian kid speaks into the closet and sits there studying a lesson, but it's just too bad for him if his mother finds him. Arithmetic, they don't have it at all in the schools, and if there is any kid who knows what 7 and 5 are, then he has to stand in the corner all day. That's it. If he's foolish enough to let the teacher know that he knows, they have him reading on Friday, and then only if they have some books, which they never do." "But what do they do in school?" asked one of the little boys. "They eat caramel," said Pippi. "There is a long pipe that goes from the caramel factory nearby directly into the classrooms, and caramels keep shooting out all day long, so the children have all day they can eat 'em all up." "Yes, but what does the teacher do?" asked one of the little girls. "Takes her paper off the caramels for the children, of course," said Pippi. "You didn't suppose they did it themselves, did you?" "Hardly. They don't even go to school themselves. They send their brothers." Pippi waved her big hat. "So long, kids," she cried. "Now you won't see me for a while, but always remember how many apples Axel had, and you'll be sorry." With a ringing laugh, Pippi rode off through the gates so wildly that the pebbles whirled around the horse's hooves and the window panes rattled in the schoolhouse.